right, Dr. Leahcim Semaj, welcome. Tell us where you're hailing from.
Well, I'm actually physically in Jamaica at the moment.
Okay.
But I moved between Florida and Jamaica. But I define myself as a digital nomad. But
Okay.
the way we spell the nomad is different. Knowmad.
How is that different from nomadic? Nomadic.
Right, okay. Because the Know, meaning that I'm a knowledge worker,
Okay.
not just somebody who moves around, a knowledge worker who can work anywhere from anywhere.
And
Because,
possibly on any topic if there's a particular topic.
well, the topic, my area of expertise is, I'm a psychologist and deal with transformation, but anything to do with transformation, change, human development. Just from the standpoint that I started out looking at identity in children as one of my main topic, but my ideas have evolved. And interestingly, there was a turning point for me. It was 1979 when I taught psychology at Cornell University. And I met a Ghanaian writer, Ayi Kwei Armah. And
repeat the name.
Ayi Kwei Armah. He has a number of classic books, Why Are We So Blessed? The Beautiful Ones. But is probably number one book is 2000 Seasons. But then he had just published a book called The Healers. And that book says, look, healing one person, anybody can do that. But the ultimate work of a healer is to heal a nation.
Yes.
And that is what really shaped my work. So whatever I do, I've been in academia, but since 1994, I started my own company where I, again, use psychological principles to solve problems.
Okay.
So whatever and then over the last, say, 5 years or so now, what my dominant focus is looking at what I call the anchor leg of life, which is,
okay, so
the second half. So I cover everything from when I came back to Jamaica in 1981, my post at the university was research fellow in child development. So I had a responsibility for all the islands and in terms of child development. But then my work has taken me in, I've worked in every industry.
For example, well, academia, and then what else?
No, but I've worked banking, industry, bauxite, tourism. Look, once there are people, that's what psychologists do, understand human behavior. But the whole notion, so over the last 5 years, I've been focusing a lot on the anchor leg of life. That's, the second half of life, over 50, over 60. But then Semaj Mind Spa is I publish every day in Semaj Mind Spa Network, is what I call it, because I'm available online and you can access it. Once you go to semajmindspa.com, my work is there. And that's what I have over 800,000 viewers in the last 28-day period. So we're making a difference in terms of helping people take charge of their life, take responsibility, and to be the best version of themselves.
All right. So you said a lot. So I want you said you were inspired by the work of Ayi
Kwei Armah.
Armah. I want to make sure I get it correctly. Ayi Kwei Armah. And that was way back in 1970.
If you can you see this?
Okay, a little higher. Okay, the Ealers. Ayi Kwei. Okay, I got the name now. Ayi Kwei Armah. Okay. And that was some of the principles from
the whole idea that the ultimate work of a healer is to heal a nation.
All right, so let's start with the first. You said your branch, you kind of study or branch out in youth identity.
Yeah, my
identity
first
development.
focus because was child development, because from the standpoint that we start as children, right? And much of who we are gets set, gets focused. So whatever we need to do, we can't avoid that. And that's what, the interest is, how do we get it right how do we set the agenda? How do we get children off to a right start and so on? It's always affected me. But then as I lend my talent to whatever the areas that are required.
Okay.
So, but the dominant area that I'm looking at now is again that anchor leg, because we have a lot of, we don't fully understand the capacity that our people have, and this notion of when as somebody gets older, I tell people I don't deal with old age. I choose to sage, not age.
All right. So before we get to the anchor leg, let's start with youth. How do we get children to start off on the right foot? And let's put it in context. Let's focus on the kids in Jamaica because that's your culture, that's your base, and you should have some understanding in that context with your work. So with the poverty and the different folklore and factors that are affecting Jamaican youth. How do we get them off on the right foot?
The mantra that guides me on that part is that the family, parents, that's the first school. The first school is home, and the first teachers are parents. Everything else is extra lesson.
Okay.
That's the most critical thing. What happens, and that's where to a large extent, that's where we drop the ball from day one.
And the ball drop where starting with in the home.
In the home, yes, because the whole notion of children, like my estimate, I like to say that, look, 75% or so of Jamaican children, what announced their presence or their intended presence was a woman saying to a man, I miss my period, And the man said, what are you telling me that for? And the argument starts there.
Right.
Because there was never any a priori discussion, any plan that, listen, we are, I met you and you are the person I'd like to build a life with. You are the person I'd like to be the mother of my children, etc. That kind of conversation. It is in the minority. So the majority of our children are born in situations that did not anticipate or accept or welcome their presence.
Or wanted, yes.
Or wanted, exactly. No, given that, it's incredible how many still work out. Huh?
In terms of in having mom and dad present in the child's life.
Exactly. And with all the various things that you need to do, with the forces that you need to overcome and so on. But so that any change, anything we're talking about, we really want to impact the lives of our children. Especially now when social media and the things associated are so pervasive. Cable, that's if we can't impact what happens at that family level, because again, the first school is home.
Yeah.
The first teachers are parents. Now, can you imagine how many children have done very well with the deficits they got from home?
Right.
And even the deficit they got from parents. Further complicating factors that impact child development in Jamaica. We have 7 all-boy high schools in Jamaica. But we have 15 all-girl high schools. And the co-ed schools are between 60 and 65% female. So you understand that part of the problem. We have a common entrance or a SAT or a GSAT set, different type of exam, that 10 plus exam for the last 50 years. But guess what? At age 10, girls are approximately 2 years ahead of boys developmentally.
Isn't it biologically an inherent factor?
Yes, what I'm saying.
Okay.
But then it is at that period, girls are roughly 2 years ahead of boys developmentally at that stage. But that's where we use the exam now to determine who goes to which high school.
Okay.
So that's why then we have 7 all-boys schools and 15 all-girls schools.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you get to the University of the West Indies now,
Mm-hmm.
it's 80% female. So you see the issue in terms of how the skewness in our society, and the role of socialization of children is to transform them from being destructive to productive. Huh? Now, we've done a good job with our females. Excellent jobs.
You think
Just in terms
so?
of, absolutely. They
Right.
dominate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Listen, there's a classic, I wrote about this on the Mind Spa. 7 judges, 8 new judges were promoted 2 months ago. 8 new judges
In Jamaica or through
in
the.
Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
In Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
7 were female,
Okay.
1 male. But because the law school is 90% female, you understand the point I'm making? So
Yes.
the channels in terms of academic, because the academic process. So you find there's a notion that if a young man growing up, if he can't earn it, he's going to hunt it.
Hmm.
So that accounts for our crime situation in Jamaica, because you can be a talented, you're bright,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have the academic qualifications to get into certain areas and so on. So you choose what works for you. So we have not adjusted our school system with the ideas in terms of how we get the best out of our children.
So
We have
let's
not.
let's look at it look at before you get further. I want to tap into what you said about the home first and and then the parents. Um, that is when all in some cases when all things are equal or fair, then you may produce, say, a child, a girl who is able to go through those stepping stones and get through primary school, get through high school, and then get to college when all things are fair and equal. Because we're talking about factors of income, access to resources, and then again, we also have to look at the parents' education, right? And also the other dynamics with, say, if there's a two-parent household, the dynamics there, it could be arguments or violence and trauma and all sorts of things. So those things may impact a larger group of children as well, where boys, say, for example, if you're saying girls tend to fear more than boys, you'll find boys, having the deficit in or experiencing deficit in these areas, right? What is it? Who, and how? Who should help at that level? We already know the parents and so on, but if these factors are inadequate, where parents cannot afford it, parents are themselves uneducated, and we are seeing where, say, boys, then if girls can, maybe they're 2 years ahead, they can figure, maybe if these things are not in place, they can still make it in some ways. Who should help who in this setting when
That's
things
why
are
we have a
not
government.
equal?
No, that's why we have a government.
Hmm.
The role of the government is to provide the best opportunity for all the people of the society.
Okay.
That's how we build institutions. We fund schools and hospitals and roads. The government has that responsibility.
And if
Now,
they're not doing it, okay, let's ask, do we believe it's happening? Jamaica is
no, it's not. It's
the
not. It's education is poorly funded. You name it, all our institutions are poorly funded, even though we talk big and we talk tough and so on. The most recent last year, the GSAT exam, which is the exam at the end of high school,
Mhm.
Jamaica fared the worst in the Caribbean. 19% of Jamaican students who took the GSAT exam,
Mhm.
19 achieved 5 subjects, including maths and English. 19%.
Mhm. Okay. So here's a question for you. Um, what if you know offhand for children, say, leaving high school And for those who do not have the GSAT exam scores, then, or is it the scores or the passing rate to
Yeah,
to get
to
into to get
matriculate, to
in,
go on. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
to go on. What type of programs are available to that category of students? It could be vocation, it could be well, vocation slash trade. What is there?
Oh yeah, we have created Heart is an
Mhm.
incredible institution that has catered for a lot of those kinds of activities, the non-academic as such. Um, but the problem we're having even with that, the minimum requirement to get into Heart is 2 subjects, and
Well, that's unfair too, isn't it?
well, the minimum, but no, but the minimum to get in there, but the majority of students who would like to don't qualify because our education system is failing from the very beginning. So we have
So
a
there's
lot of our students.
barriers, if anything, because I mean, there should be open access, open opportunities, don't you think?
No, but it's one thing to have open access and opportunity, but if the students are not qualified, if they can't read. So, for example, a large numbers of students, we now have all students are roughly placed in high school now. It's almost, you pick your top 6, when you take the exam, and then they were just boasting this week that the majority of students got placed within their top 4.
Right.
But listen, I can't think of many students who have 4 choices they'd like to attend to. There's a handful of schools that all students want to go to, huh?
Mhm.
Based on the performance of those schools. And it's just when you look at the performance of our schools, they're very uneven. And to a large extent, no, the government provides a flat funding across all the schools. But you see, the schools that have a effective PTA
Mhm.
that can augment the teacher's salary and can help to create better extracurricular activities and so on makes a big difference.
Are
So
you
that
talking at the primary high school level or
I'm talking at the high school level, the high school
what
level. That's
about the
where,
alumni program as well?
well, again, it varies from school to school.
Okay.
Some schools, there are a handful of schools that are very good in terms of motivating their students and so on and to help out. But overall, our educational system in Jamaica is extremely uneven, and even where it is funding, it is the outcome is not there as measured by the numbers, as measured by the performance of the students.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of work to be done. And you see, it
So,
has to, school is that institution that should even out the differences that we all have. Huh? We don't have the same parents, we don't have the same resources, but school, using myself as an example, I went to a primary school, but my mother sacrificed as such to give me extra lessons after school, from primary school. So when we had the common entrance exam, which is what they have the GSAT or the PEP, what they call it, I got a government scholarship. Not only was I placed in my first choice of high school, but I got money to pay for books, to pay for lunch, to pay for uniform, all the things that would make my education possible. Now, many years ago, we'll wipe that out. Yes, we have things called government, but they don't get that anymore. So that made it, in fact, that's what cemented my commitment to Jamaica. Because without that, any options would be zero for me. So because that was what created my opportunity,
mhm.
even when I went away, even by the time I finished my master's, I started looking for jobs in Jamaica. After I finished my PhD, I started still looking for jobs. Did a postdoctorate, still looking for jobs. Got a job at Cornell. In my second year at Cornell, I got the Distinguished Teacher Award. I was voted the best teacher at Cornell. I
That's Cornell
resigned.
University in the US or Cornell?
Cornell in New York, Ithaca,
Okay.
New York.
Mm-hmm.
I resigned the next year
Okay.
because I said, if I am so good, why am I not back in Jamaica helping my own people?
Mm-hmm.
So I left my tenure-track position for a 1-year appointment at UWI.
Wow.
Because that's what I figured that I wanted to. I understood the role of education,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure I put something back in the pot. So that's what I'm saying, that education is really, it's the primary, it's what that we all have in common. Huh? And when I heard about, say, your organization, stay in school and so on,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you do for children, by and large, it has to be gone through to the parents or through their school,
Right.
or some church group or something. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just access children.
You can't.
Yeah, right. So the critical issue, and I spent a lot of time doing a lot of work with PTAs, helping, having parenting class and parenting groups, helping parents to be more effective, impactful, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is the ultimate. Because, for example, me as a parent, when my children were in, say, high school, even from before high school, I banned them from TV during the week.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, I would tell them that, look, everybody you see on TV, money make already. Your money don't make it.
All right. So, Dr. Semaj, let's set this up a minute, in a way so that we can kind of interrogate what you're saying.
Yeah.
Let's go back to, for example, you said education is supposed to be the great equalizer. That is the
Yes.
whole line. So regardless of the background of the student or the child coming in, the opportunity and the access should be there for everyone. But
That is what would make the
we know
difference.
that's not true as it in Jamaica because you just counter that point when you said, well, they don't have the subject to get into a vocational program. What, you don't I'm gonna say this as much as I love my Jamaica, you should not need, if anything, that should be the alternative, where if you did not pass or do well at GSAT, then the student still have an opportunity at a vocational program to learn a skill. The door should not be shut on a child who possibly the skills are there, the creativity is within this child, but because the child didn't do well, and we know that these test-based measures are not effective, we know that, are not as effective for everyone. We can't just, holistically start testing children when again, the factors are uneven, as you said. How is it a child who is deemed not having the ability to read and write in Jamaica can become a scholar in another country? How is that possible then? It
No, no,
is
hold on. It's not that far. That extreme you have mentioned, no, that's not it.
what extreme?
Meaning,
Meaning the
meaning that
child cannot read, but then they are
you say
able to
you
even say
can't
come to the
read
US.
and
Are
then
you
become a scholar there.
really? So do we need to
No,
actually find a poster child for you to believe that?
no, because no, look,
What I'm
I've been
no, I said
look, no,
deemed
but
to be illiterate because it's possible that the teachers, the schools were not tapping into this child's ability, and maybe they focus on the child's behavior. Maybe they focus on so many other external circumstances versus looking inward to understand this child, which we know which is happening. I mean, there's so many news stories about children being locked out of school because they're not wearing the right uniform. I just recently talked to someone who was kicked out of seventh grade because one, they couldn't afford the shoes color and the color shirt. And the teacher said, they said, no, you can't come to school. And we know that this is not the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. It is still happening today. So it is not extreme. And that same child can move to another country that is considered, in comparison relative to Jamaica, to be developed, or, extremely developed, and be able to make it. And then they can share their story and said, I couldn't read, I couldn't write, and they didn't help me. And they prevented me from going to school. And look where I am now. I can't tell you, and I can't give you examples of those situations.
No, but I can't defend any nuance that you could present. I'm not here to defend, but I'm just saying that the reality is that a lot of, in fact, there are also some children, many children who are late bloomers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that in the early educational system, they did poorly, but then given a second chance elsewhere and otherwise, they bloomed, which does happen.
That's what
So,
you're categorizing it as, late bloomers versus a missed versus constraints,
but I
external
said, no, no,
constraints.
hold on. I said, I am not trying to make any
Okay.
excuse for any, but I said, I know that there are many of our students who at the early level, they don't do very well, but then they blossom later on in life. There are many students who, by virtue of the nature of the kind of school that they go to, 40 and 50 children in one classroom,
Right.
many of them having no books,
Right.
many children having developmental disabilities. In fact, even something as basic as children who have vision problem and it's not diagnosed. So the child goes for years without being able to see the blackboard.
Right.
We have all of those kind of issues at the same time. But the reality is that a lot of untapped talent
Yes.
is in Jamaica.
Yes.
And by virtue of the parents not being fully understanding of what is to be done, I'll give you two quick examples. I did a study when I was research fellow in child development in Barbados, Antigua, St. Kitts, and Jamaica, looking at the performance of children in grade 1
Mm-hmm.
as a function of what they did before they got to grade 1. 2,500 children. And the best predictor that I found was parents' attitude to education. Not parents' income or parents' education. Parents' attitude. The parents who valued education, they followed up. They made sure their children did the homework. They went to PTA meetings. They interacted with the teacher. They provided that bridge between home and school. Those children did the best.
But Dr. Semaj, I know, so I feel like every step of the way so far, I'm gonna it's not countering per se, but try to highlight some of the things that what you're saying. As a psychologist, as you said, we know that psychologists, as a psychology, you're focusing on pathologies, individual pathologies. And in this sense, you're saying, you mentioned something about the ankle leg. You don't see old age, but you see ankle leg and so which is not focusing on the pathological issues of old age, but on the opportunities can exist. Yes, that is good. But what you've mentioned so far is you focusing on the constraints and creating a comparative kind of compartments of, okay, if the parent do this, then this will happen. If this parent doesn't do this, then this will may happen. And I really think it's unfair to see it that way.
Hold on,
Again,
listen,
you
hold on.
have to go back.
Hold on. Let me say something up here.
Mhm.
Nothing in I have no interest in convincing you or
Mhm.
converting or debating with you.
Right. I
I didn't come
appreciate
for
that.
any of those things. I don't have no interest in convincing you, converting you, or debating with you. All I'm here to do is to share my insights. That's all.
Okay.
Now, if you have other data, if you have other perspective, I welcome it.
Okay.
I have no problem with it. But I am not going to try to debate you, convince you, or change you.
Fair enough. And that should
No,
not be
so
the
far, no,
case.
no, but the whole lot, everything I've said so far, you've tried to you try to turn this into some kind of a debate. But I'm not debating.
All
I'm
right.
just sharing my insights with you.
With the insights that you share, though.
If you believe or you don't believe, no, I have no problem with that.
So, Dr. Semaj, with the insights that you share, how would you wish for it to be accessed then? If you're saying based on the study, you said based on a study that was done between different Caribbean nation countries or within, and it's found that attitude is one of the
hold on. I said
the
I did the study.
prevalent factor.
I said I did the study.
Right, that you were part. Yes.
And I said my data showed that parents' attitude to education was the most powerful thing, and in fact, that has been corroborated.
Okay.
And
it's agreeable. It's agreeable.
The value that parents place on education, it is the biggest factor that drives a child's development. Parents who don't value education, that child starts with a major deficit. So, that's the reality. That's how it is.
It is the reality. And I agree 100% with what you're saying, that the attitude of the parents is important. What I'm wondering if in the section of that study, if you have an area for discussion on, where further research can be done and say the attitude of a parent who does not value education because of, one, they're uneducated. Two, they have so many other issues going on that they cannot, the limitations are so many that they don't have the time. So yes, attitude, yes, it is agreeable. But can we also agree that with the attitude, the part where the student does not fare well because of the parent's attitude in the area where education is not valued, that it may not be fair to blame the parents in that sense either.
Hold on.
We're not saying that you are, but we're just bringing that up.
Why, remember I said that the school and the government has a responsibility to bring out the best in everybody. Yes. Now, some children are going to need a lot more than others.
Okay.
Some children will need just the minimum, but some children will need a lot more. So that's where the role of the state comes in, to at least give all of our children an equal opportunity at excellence.
As it relates to identity, as it relates to identity, how do you, well, we know identity, it's, you have individual identity, but in terms of culture, what do you see coming out? Because earlier on you mentioned how, the recent technology has influenced youth. So with your years of experience from the late 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s, what have you seen in terms of, the type of youth behavior that is coming out, that is shaping their identity?
Well, look, if you go all the way back to when I was a child, we had one TV station and two radio stations. Now we have an infinite number of cable, unlimited social media, so that the impact on the child's identity is infinitesimal. The parents are about the most, in fact, it makes the role of the parents even that much more important, because the parent has to be that anchor. I give an example. One of my youngest son, who's now 30, I remember when we were going on a road trip back in the days of the iPod, and we get in the car, each person would play music for an hour. And then he said, I asked him, could you put your iPod in the docking station so you entertain us? And he said, but Dad, my music can't play. I mean, your music can't. You don't like I want to hear your music. So when he put the music in, my wife and I cringed when we heard the lyrics. And I told her, don't say anything. Would I play for an hour? And then I said to him, I counted 857 years hard labor. If any of those behaviors were to have been acted on. Now, the difference is all the children are hearing those same songs, but not all of them have parents who will push back and tell them that, listen, there's a problem with that behavior. So that's where the big problem issues come in. I remember some time ago, at a conference, a music conference. I was on a panel with Bounty Killer. And Bounty Killer made a profound statement. He says that it is the radio stations that give him bad name. So when he makes a big bad tune for the dance hall, it's not him put on the radio. The song was made for the dance hall. And if you notice now, the same music that is played in the dance hall is being played on the buses, it's being played everywhere, it's being played at children's parties and so on. So that there's very little differentiation. When I was a child, you heard something about that big people music and there's children music.
Yeah.
And there's things that you're not supposed to even, in fact, they have many songs that you can't play on the radio and so on.
Not fit for airplay, right?
Not fit for airplay, right? So that role, just imagine now where the parents is not pushing back. It's not, the big difference, I had a sound system. And my sound system, anything that could not be played on the radio, we don't play it. And we only play conscious music. I live to see my same son, that same son, when he was at Campion, he started a group called Party Kids, where they put on parties for children. And he would hire the top selectors to play at his party. But he started by having them fill out a contract and saying that any song that can't be played on the radio can't be played, because his group of kids were between 14 and 17.
Was it like an after-school program or just a one-time thing?
No. It's a public. He did this for years.
Oh, okay.
He would put on these parties. I mean, massive parties, you know. But he contracted the selectors, top selectors, but he constrained their behavior because based on what he learned from his father. You can't play songs for children that are not consistent with positive socialization. Let them hear it somewhere else. Let them hear it somewhere, but not at something that he's responsible for. So I'm saying that is the kind of role where parents have so much more to do now, because the forces outside, on the buses, on the road, everywhere, just a kind of antisocial and destructive behavior that is being promoted by the music. And if there's not somebody who the child trusts who's going to say, you know, yes, it may be catchy, yes, it may be funny, yes, it may be danceable, but that's wrong.
So let me walk,
get in that.
Let me walk in the shoes of a parent now and say to you, okay, the parents say, I do everything. I turn off the TV. I take him to church. I take them to church with me, something like that. We get rid of the radio, whatever it is. And they say, what if we're talking about airplay? Yes, you're saying that there's so many private radio stations now, and you don't even need a license.
We have 39 radio stations.
And nowadays, you don't even need a license because everybody's on YouTube creating their own content as well, or on some other streaming device, right? But the government can have some control over that, right? Don't you think the government can have some control?
The government has control as to
who they give license to, what they can produce.
They have control
without becoming authoritarian in any way.
But you can't control YouTube and those other things. So you have no control over them. Yeah.
But you can control the licensing and what is fit for airplay, just like certain movies that can only be shown on, say, the TV stations there.
But you see, they do that. We have something called the Broadcast Commission.
Right.
And every now and then the Broadcast Commission wakes up. Sometime back, they made a decision that any song that has to be bleeped can be played on the radio. If you understand me, you have the song, and you bleep out the curse word, you bleep out so all that happens now, you make two versions of it, and the one for radio, you bleep it out and so on. So they did that sometime in the past, so you can't, anything that has to be bleeped can't be played, so on. So you do have that. But at the same time, it means the children are going to be one way or the other getting all of these other inputs.
Yes.
So you as a parent, you still have it means that, in fact, you have to know your children. You have to interact with your children. You have to be the kind of person that your children can come to.
Yes.
And share anything with you and so on. And whatever it is that is bothering them, whatever they're concerned, whatever they hear and they're not sure about and so on, you have to be there for them. Where there are many parents, like at my home, my yard was the playground. So you could add a basketball hoop. So I'd rather bring them here, make the noise in my yard. Only thing, no cursing and no fighting.
Right.
But at least that I had some control by bringing them in my yard, that kind of stuff. But parents still has a role to play, because you can't leave it up to the state. There are a lot of children in Jamaica who we call them barrel children. Parents that live in the States or elsewhere, remittance come down every month, but then they live with an aunt or a grandma or so on, who really don't necessarily have the energy and so on, because it is what comes in the barrel every couple of months. And make it worse, many of them, up until the most recent dispensation, and miss me soon gone. Mother soon send for me.
Right.
So that I do have to take this serious and so on.
Right.
So it is growing up now, it has its trials and tribulation. Some of us make it through, but most will not make it through.
You made the decision, you said, when you completed your studies and you got this tenure-track position at Cornell, and you spent 1 year and decide to return to Jamaica. We know now in the last, well, it's consistently been this way, but more so in the last 10 years or so, teachers are leaving Jamaica. I recently read where the government is making some agreements with different countries in Africa to bring teachers to Jamaica.
And nurses.
And nurses, yeah, and so on. Isn't it concerning that we don't have, say, teachers with the mindset like you, or you're in the more advanced area of, as a college professor, then in that context, that to want to stay in Jamaica? What can be done? Because we're talking about shaping the identity of children.
Yeah.
And the second place for the socialization is from home to school, right? And teachers are one of the primary caretakers after the parent. So what can be done? What is it that can be done? Whether it's private organizations, the state, we have to keep looking at the government to make sure that teachers are actually being trained and they're actually going to stay in Jamaica and help to shape the identity of the future generation.
Clearly, you have to compensate them.
Money.
Yes, money and all the things that, look, there was a time historically, teachers had never been well paid. Historically. But the difference between then and now, that older Jamaica, the level of respect that teachers got, and the level of every time, especially rural area, carry this for teacher. Carry this for teacher. Historically, teacher never had to go to supermarket or market or so on.
Them get food from the farm, huh?
Exactly. Now, that day that Jamaica hardly exists anymore, all right? And the reality of when a teacher looks at the cost of living, what makes it worse? The government just recently gave themselves between a 200 and 300% pay increase, right? And when you look at what a teacher has to, unless teachers and nurses have to exist on, it's very hard for them to, given the options that they have, that if I went to work here, my family would be better off. I would be better off. So I really can't blame them. Not because I did what I did, but that's me. I'm not saying that other people, in fact, a lot of people said that I was crazy to do something like that.
I can imagine that.
But the reality is that we shouldn't have to. I wrote something recently about what we want. We also be talking about Jamaicans coming back home.
Okay.
And when I did a series of discussion on that, And the reality, what it came down to, it'd be very hard for most Jamaicans to come back home. One, after you have built a life, say in the US, but then now you have children there. Your children are in college there. How do you just up and leave? And then now you have Social Security there. We have no equivalent thing in Jamaica. And our healthcare, so I identified 5 pillars that Jamaica would have to make sure we work at. And number one is healthcare. Healthcare in Jamaica is a fiasco. Security. The roads in Jamaica, you know, the justice in Jamaica, the cost of living in Jamaica. Because I go back and forth between, you can compare something would cost this in Florida and cost 3 times in Jamaica. Something would cost, so that it's very hard even for anybody who lived in the States to come back to Jamaica is only out of some irrational belief that you do that. Because you see, when I talk about the ankle leg, once you reach 16 or 65, you should be within maximum half an hour of a healthcare facility. Because it doesn't take so many little things. Once it's dealt with right away, you're good. But we have people here now, you have a problem, you go to the hospital, you can be sitting on that chair for 2 days.
Yes.
Before you're seen, So we talk, Jamaica, the government talk about all these new buildings going up and all of these, and this new road being made, but the basic. So I'm saying, I could not convince, I wouldn't try to even convince a teacher that you need to stay here.
Wow.
What I believe, what I've been talking about for many years, because our doctors and nurses and our teachers and our professionals are so well trained here, we need to make arrangements with other countries. For example, the US, Canada, UK, just to take that, their birth rate is between 1.5 and 1.7. They are not replicating their working population. They will be needing to poach on higher birth rate countries. Now,
to fill their workforce.
But Jamaican birth rate is now dropped to below 1.5. So that we will not even be able to replicate ours. And plus, we'll be losing the best. So, even more so to work out an arrangement. Because I know that many people who go abroad, part of their dream is to come back home. So that even if you work it out, so well then, yes, you have a 3-year contract there, and then you can come back, but you can go back. Well, farm workers do that. There's a farm work program, we go back and forth every year. There's a hotel program that does that. So that the back and forth, it maintains your contact with your children and your culture, but you're also able to earn a significant, because that's the money that they use to buy their house.
But some of the teachers programs are like that. The problem is many teachers they don't return during the summer. They tend to find some ways to extend their contract during the summer to stay over. But even the teachers program should be like that, where they only teach during those semester seasonal hours, but they don't return as much either. I hear you about the birth rate, the hospital situation, the healthcare programs as well. I know you said you're not here to debate, but because we're using so many countries as comparison, which is are the larger countries, for people, especially say in the northeastern corridors, for those, especially in those immigrants within those diasporas, not just Jamaica diaspora, but so many different, who doesn't have access to healthcare. They experience some of the similar things too, waiting in some of these New York hospitals for help. And some of them so the leverage that some may have is that they can use the legal system to sue for liability or discrimination if it falls within that
Yes.
category and so on. So there's a lot of similarities there when it comes to healthcare in so many on the different continents in different countries. Jamaica has been struggling with that for years as a tiny island. And yet we do have a lot of nurses, but at the same time, similar to what, the Philippines and Thailand and Vietnam experience, where their nurses are being pulled to the US or to Canada and, and the other well-developed countries. Jamaica started experiencing that. So it's not just um, a farm worker, but you have teachers, you have nurses, doctors, and even, PhD professionals,
Every level, every level.
every level, what we call the brain drain. So, yes, what left for the children? What left for those countries' children when
What
the
I came up
possible
with,
mentors are gone?
what I came up with is that the same way that I move freely around wherever I need
Mhm.
to be, we need to develop an equivalent thing whereby a Jamaican in the US can work on projects in Jamaica,
Hmm.
and a Jamaican in Jamaica can work on projects in the US. So
Hmm.
that if we now create that diaspora networking, so whatever the skill, you're looking for somebody who can do this or that or that.
Right.
Let me give a quick example. I got contacted by a woman recently.
Hmm.
She said she was trying to be on her way back to Jamaica. She wanted to. I said, "Where are you now?" She said she's actually in Florida, but she used to be in North Carolina.
Hmm.
And during COVID, she made the option. She's a teacher. She taught online in North Carolina, but her school still has a significant portion of their courses online. So she has requested to stay in that because she enjoys that working from home. So she has now moved to Florida. So she's closer to Jamaica. But I said, and she's trying to find a way back to Jamaica. I said, but hold on. You can move back to Jamaica and still be teaching in North Carolina. Because you have a job there. And your job is virtual. You can work from anywhere. She never thought of that. That the fact that all you need to do is have reliable
Internet. Hmm.
internet and electricity. She just thought that she had to just give up. But the fact that you move from North Carolina to Florida and you still have your job,
Hmm.
you can move to Kingston and still have your job.
It
So
could
once we
be
start,
depending on some other factors, but the possibility is there. Yes.
no,
Hmm.
because online, as it stands now, with my company, I have staff in Jamaica, I have staff in the Philippines, I have
Hmm.
staff in Pakistan,
Hmm.
I have staff in Nigeria.
Okay.
So wherever I can find the talent I need, and once we're online. So that to me is the kind of
Global network.
exactly almost a Jamaican version of that now.
Hmm.
So you want to work in Jamaica, you want to be here sometime and so on, fine. But we have to get the job done. And there's a line from Butcher: who can run will run, but some will have to stay. You
Right.
know? So
Right.
that's the
So,
reality.
all right. So those are good points. And all right, let's touch on you mentioned the five pillars regarding those. I guess the category that you're looking at is the seniors. When you mentioned the anchor leg.
Yeah, especially for seniors, because that's a special because when when somebody over 65 wanted to come back to Jamaica again, children in college, or
Hmm.
probably the children are finished, one, but you're now on Social Security.
Hmm.
Yes, you can move back, you can get your Social Security wherever you live, but one of the biggest benefit from Social Security is healthcare. Now you
Yes.
have no such option in Jamaica,
Right.
and you so So that's the main. Now the other factors now, when you come back to Jamaica, the healthcare first of all, then the security issue. A lot of returning residents gets preyed upon.
Yes.
I mean, from the land of the airport, many
Yes.
times by their own families.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some hard luck stories where for years you've been sending money back to Jamaica towards build your house and thing, and when you finally come and see,
Nothing is built or somebody
no, yeah, what they were sending you pictures of,
somebody fake house, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that, yes, there have been some people who made it fine, but there's some people who, and then the cost of living, just when you do the comparison now, what does it cost to? And many have dreams about, well, they grew up in a farming community in Westmoreland or wherever. But when they look at now, going back to that same community now, I'm going to see what it'll be like. And if you want to go back to farming, but then you realize now, what are the quality of the roads? What are the infrastructures that you need to? It's a whole different. So what I just encourage people to do, you come visit. Come visit. Not just for a weekend, come for a month to get a realistic, one thing that really turned me onto this reality. There's a cousin of mine, we grew up, age very similar, and he's a medical doctor. Trained at University of the West Indies, worked here before he migrated and so on. And his question is that, and he has a house in Jamaica, and he comes here very regular. But his thing, if he has a broken toenail, he just wants to be able to get on a flight back to Florida because he knows the inadequacies of our healthcare system. And he go back to Florida. So that whenever somebody comes, they have to have that option that in an emergency, because guess what? That's what our politicians do. Once they have a medical emergency, they're on a flight to Florida because they know the quality. Yes, we have excellent doctors. Huh? We train for the best. But the facilities, recently Kingston Public Hospital just sent out a notice that because of the shortage of personnel and equipment, and the AC is not working in the operating theaters and so on, they're only dealing with emergencies. That's frightening. So I have people have to understand that reality. That if you're coming to visit is one thing, but when you have to live with Jamaican dollars in your pocket, I have a notion that you aren't allowed to get more than one thing done in a day in Jamaica, if you're lucky. You start, well, I want to stop by the phone company together. Then I want to stop by a water commission. They have to go by the bank. Once you go into the bank, it's an all-day affair.
Yes.
You take a number and take a seat. No.
And you may not get it done in one day either, depending on what you're going to.
When I contrast that, 3 weeks ago I was in Florida, my wife got a check in the mail. She took her phone,
took a picture
of the check.
That's it. Seconds.
Within 2 hours, the money was in her account. Jamaica, they would tell you you have to deposit the check and you have to wait 9 days for it to clear, and your mother have to sign the back of the check. And so it's hard to put up with those kinds of...
And that is only if certain criteria are met. In other situations, I know of people who, they go spend the whole day and they still have to go back the next day because the signature no match, or this look different, or that look different.
Here's this one. My wife lost her phone somewhere between New York and Florida. Jamaican phone. So she came back now, and she had this number for 30 years, so she wanted the same number, all right? So she applied. They told her that when she applied for the phone, she was married to somebody else then, so she had that married name. She doesn't have that name anymore.
So that's not her.
She has to get a JP or a notary public to certify that she was who
Who
she
she
is,
is. Yeah. I've heard it.
because without that,
Yes.
because that's the only name that, and that person, that's the only person they will issue the phone to.
So a senior citizen coming back, having to deal with that, they can't. They can't.
That's
And then they would have to, if even if they have to rely on someone to do it, it's possible worse because I understand that sometimes you can use an agent in Jamaica where you have to sign something, but that's even create a lot of complications as well. So you may not get anything done.
one close home. My mother worked for many, retired in the US, came home with her pension and her social security and so on. And, and then she wanted to, something happened, she wanted to move her money from one bank to the other. She wanted to open and close the account. And they were giving her all kind of runner up and so on. And then she said that she's going to, well, I'm going to bring my son to her. They laughed because my mother and myself have the same name. So when I turned up, Dr. Semaj, imagine invited her into his office, gave her a
Things
seat,
change.
gave her a coffee. Oh, by the way, we have a special account for retired people, where they actually get 2% more interest. She said, but from the day I opened the account here, I was retired. I told you all that. And in fact, my social security money comes right here. And it's now you're telling me that there's another account that you could have put me on. She said, I don't want to hear anything more from you. Just give me my money. I'm gone. Or if not, talk to my son.
I
So
have a question. I know we have to run, but here's a question. When keep hearing these stories, a lot of time we say it's a system, it's the structure, but I actually believe it's the people within the system that is causing
yes,
some of this. Because
yes, yes.
I mean, the same way you talk about the banking and the problem, I know they tried to do something recent in the last 2 years at the passport office, but the office has been a nightmare for people
But
in the diaspora who wants to maintain their
there have been
passport.
some significant changes. There have been
There
some
have
significant
been,
upgrades.
but only because of there were some people in that office, Dr. Samaj, that you wonder how they
Hold on.
maintain their jobs. Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I was the chairman of PICA.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. So I was part of that revolution, that
Okay, okay.
transformation.
Yes.
So I can't speak for now, but I'm saying what we were able to make some magic happen where people could get in 3 days, in 24 hours. You can do it but you can file it from the consulate officer, and
But
you can
that
get back.
but that was but even when they were trying to, their rollout was very, very bad and when they were trying to go digital. And I'm telling you, the horror stories around interacting with the people, customer
The
service,
people.
the agents in there. I'm telling you, some people call it vindictive because they thought that because the interaction went in a bad direction. But it was bad. So what we're hearing then is that there's so many systemic issues in Jamaica, the structure, the infrastructure, everything it seems to be needing
Overall,
modification overall.
serious
And
overall,
as a
yes.
result, young people are suffering, college
And
age students are suffering,
who
and
can
older
leave will
people.
leave. Who can leave will leave.
And the people who do make it to a point and they now have the greater awareness and opportunity decide we are out. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
that's what it is. It's okay. There's a lot of work to be done. Serious. The place has potential, and a lot of those who are in charge and in power, they are glad to be where they are and reap the benefit. But in terms of transformation of the system, there's
It's
no
not
hurry.
happening.
No
Do
hurry to
you
make it.
you made the decision to give back to Jamaica, not just in resources, but physically, you're physically there. Any regrets?
Oh, none whatsoever, because where I live is my favorite space in the universe.
Okay.
Um, I, I have your phone email address? I'll send you a picture
Mhm.
of I'll send you a video that I shot this
Okay.
morning. In the morning, I shoot a video when I wake up
Nice.
to show
I'm
you
so curious.
what is it my world is. I I just went outside a while ago and I picked some OTT apple.
In
And
your
my host,
backyard.
yes,
Nice.
I have you name it. I have pumpkin. I have
The
guava.
richness of
Yeah,
Jamaica.
I mean exactly. I have created a space for myself. This is
Mhm.
my space,
Yes,
So I'm able to sort of once I come in and close the gate,
that's
I've
your
created my own space.
that's your space. That's your
That's my
paradise in
space.
there.
Yes, yes. I mean, rest of Jamaica, there's all kinds of problems out there, but once I come inside and I'll send you a look. And do go to
Mindful.
SemajMindSpa.com
Yes.
and you'll see what I'm about.
Thank you, Dr. Samaj. It's been very insightful talking to you and just learning about your perspective, as you said, on all things Jamaican and, highlight it. I know you've been doing the work locally and globally because, you said you have workers in all different spaces. And hopefully somebody will see all of this and understand that we want change in Jamaica, especially for the youth, right?
When you finish with it, send me a copy of what you
I will.
found.
Thank you
Alrighty?
so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
That's mine.